Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Titan Esports interview. This time, looking at someone who is another org owner. We're keeping the theme here of interviewing different people behind all the wonderful organizations that participate in Titan and amateur leagues beyond. This time, it's ELG Esports and their owner, Freelance. How are you doing today? And thanks for taking the time.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Just trying to beat the heat. It's definitely a hot summer out there this year.
Oh yeah, I know. It's I think there's already been record heats at least somewhere. I think Arizona had the hottest day of the year, but
Yeah.
even over in Canada, it's disgusting hot. So yeah, salute to you, soldier. Thankfully, we're inside at the moment. And so talk to me now about just your competitive history in Titan, in other amateur leagues, if you've played in those before. What's that kind of competitive journey been like for you?
So I'm kind of a old head in the tier 3 scene. I actually started back in 2017 in my competitive journey. I originally started playing on like ranked 5s and playing with streamers when I first started getting into league, and then 2017 I ended up really looking for teams, and that's when I started in Compete League. Ended up making a team there, and then got promoted up to Premier League, took over captainship for that team, and created what ended up being my first org called Ozone Gaming. There's a few people around that still remember it, and we ended up at the time having about 12 teams at that point. Ended up running our own league at one point, so had kind of our hand in everything at that time, when it was not very common to see a lot of orgs do that. It was mostly just leagues that stuck to running their own leagues, and then orgs weren't as common back then. Then I had some personal stuff where life became more important, so I stepped away and got back into competitive esports this year. Excel actually recommended me to try out for ELG when they first started out their roster last split in Gladiator. I didn't have the games just coming back in, so I kind of took on a coach manager role for them, and then we ended up placing fifth in the league in playoffs, and from there we've kind of grown. Now we have 3 teams playing in Titan and are looking to add 5 more to bring our total up to 8.
So that's very interesting. So you have Elegy right now, and then previously you had Ozone, which you said went all the way up to 12 teams, which is so much. That is a lot of players that you're kind of managing with other people, other staff. That's a crazy amount. So going all the way back there, what was the motivation for you in your early days to make Ozone at the very start, kind of your first organization?
So I kind of got into watching the LCS at the time, and seeing Bjergsen and Double Lift, those kind of players really shine, made me want to kind of be alongside them. And over time I realized I'm probably not at the competitive level that they are, but I have the managerial skill that I know I can build something, right? And then I had the opportunity where before I had started playing teams, I had played in like a community event that Team Dragon Knights back in season 6, I think it was, held, and got to play versus Bishu. It was like they put one pro player that was playing in the LCS and custom games, and unfortunately for me, I got matched up against him in lane, and I decided my silver brain was like, let me play Thresh into a pro player. I got my ass handed to me. And but yeah, just having that experience and kind of getting that interaction with someone who I could go and turn on a stream and see have 100,000 people watching them, and it kind of gave me motivation where I was like, I want to be a part of that. I want to have something where people know the impact that I can bring, and then it just kind of grew from there to where it started becoming more about like seeing players grow, seeing giving people a home and seeing like what they can bring to the org as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great story. And it's kind of like you want to get a piece, you want to get more into more of the action. You want to get like a little piece of the industry. I understand that feeling there. So towards the end of that answer, you talked about giving players a home, giving players a place to play. Would you say that is also kind of the motto for the organization, or at least one part of it for Elegy? Is that kind of the main motivation behind making teams and letting people play under that banner, is to give them that place to play?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, for me coming back, when I kind of got back into my old Discord and messaged people from Ozone, like there were, Excel ended up forming CB. White Lotus became a thing from a couple of players that were in Ozone. I also had a bunch of people who became lifelong friends, some people who ended up going on to play collegiate LoL, and they got their start with us. I kind of realized in that moment where it's like, it became more than just, a gaming org. It became a place where people could have something that mattered to them for the rest of their life. I still look back on that and I think fondly. I ended up actually getting a tattoo of the logo on my forearm.
Nice.
And it was painful, but worth it. But it made me realize like there's a lot that's bigger than just League of Legends being competitive, and giving a home and giving people a space to kind of express themselves through the game really can resonate with a lot of people. And it, not only that, but focusing on improvement, helping players grow and become better players and better people. It's just, there's nothing else like it. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really does. The kind of journey that you go on from just an idea of maybe this is something I want to try and this could grow into something a whole lot bigger, and then getting to the point that you are now, where what you were envisioning earlier has now come to fruition. That's got to be quite the nice feeling. I think you kind of put that into words quite nicely. So now that you've kind of talked about what Elegy is about, your journey as an org owner and what that's been like for you, your motivations, if someone else is watching this interview and they think to themselves, and they're in any way inspired by what you're saying, and they maybe want to try out making their own organization as well, maybe they have friends that want to play and they want to go down that same route, what would be the best kind of piece of advice that you could give someone who kind of wants to do the same type of thing as you?
Honestly, I'd say be creative. Don't think within a box. Don't think like you have to fit a certain path that other teams have created. I think in a lot of ways, every single org is different, right? And every single org has different operations and the way that they think about, how they go about gathering their players, how they go about coaching and improvement, how they go about marketing and streaming, all those different avenues that go into it. And I think if someone wants to get started with it, don't be overzealous with it, but be creative. Don't be afraid to put out different ideas and just have fun with it. Like, the number one thing about all this is just have fun, right? I think if we're not having fun with it, I think we've kind of lost the point of playing in an environment like this, competing in an environment like Titan, like Tier 3 Esports,
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of other like-minded org owners within the space who at least try to do the same. I interviewed Shane, owner of XSV, and he said a very similar thing to the lines of you, where it's one thing to take it seriously. It is competition. You do want to win. That should be a goal, but not to the point where you kind of lose the plot, like you said, and it's just, what are we even doing here? This isn't even fun anymore. So I really like that answer there. I think that's some very sound advice for anyone who might try to get in on this action, similar to how you did way back in the day with Ozone. You've been doing some coaching, like you said, with one of Elegy's teams in Gladiator. How's that how's that season been going for you guys, and what's kind of been that process of coaching? Any hurdles you've had to go over? What's that been like?
So definitely some really ups and downs. I would say there's been a lot of growth, but there's also been some things that we've struggled with. I think it's a lot due to the fact that we do have 4 rookies on the roster. You know, we have one player in Chaotic who has played in comp before, is the leader of the roster, our main shot caller, and he's a very strong voice in the team, right? And I think in a lot of situations we're struggling with where we want to be at on the map, how we want to play out things, but I'm seeing week over week it improve, right? And that's what it's all about, is just the improvement and being able to give the feedback to the players, being able to have them kind of understand, like, hey, we are learning this, and we do have the faith that if he's not there, or if we, you know, like, because he has a wife, he has, you know, his family obligations, you know, everybody has to step out for scrims every once in a while. If he's not there, hey, someone else can take up that mantle, right? And over the past couple weeks, I've really seen a lot more players step up with shot calling and leading, and I really think that this roster is just right there where they need to be, and I think come playoff times is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I really do.
Absolutely. That's exciting. Looking forward towards the playoffs, the growth of the whole team, you being a part of that, not only as someone who is in that coach role, but also making a lot of this stuff happen with your willingness to go the extra mile and create these spaces for people to be able to compete. I think that's very awesome. And I'll open the floor to you now as we are about to wrap up this interview for any shout outs you want to give to anyone you want.
Really want to give a shout out to everyone over at Elegy, all my staff, you know, working their butts off, trying to get everything in place. We do have a lot coming down the pipeline for content and future teams, so keep a lookout for that. And shout out to Titan Esports for bringing me on for this interview and having these leagues, seeing the growth from what esports, competitive esports used to be to now. It's such a huge improvement, and it's so much nicer to compete in and feel like the league has your back. And yeah, it's just a huge quality of life change. So appreciate you guys for bringing me on too.
Awesome stuff. Well, this has been a fantastic interview. Happy to have you on. And that is ELG Esports. Like you said, content that they're making. If you want to check out more about them, then definitely do that as well. Multiple teams, multiple different leagues. Freelance, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me on.
That was ELG's Freelance owner and coach, maybe potentially in the future player, if you want to get back into it. If you could say maybe something on that. Is that something that's in your future?
Possibly. It's kind of starting to come back a little bit, the competitive bitch.
Absolutely. I mean, that when I was coaching teams, I wanted to play, made me want to play. I was like, I got to get on the wrist. That type of edge.
There's times where it's like you're coaching them and you're like, I know what we need to do here, and you're like, I just want to hop in and take control.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's a very common occurrence among coaches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for the time, Freelance. And that's going to wrap up this interview here at Titan Esports. There's going to be more coming up throughout the entirety of the split. Keep your eyes open for those. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'm Faris, showcaster here at Titan Esports. We'll see you next time.